And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel. Today we're taking a look at Haven. This is a two-player game designed by Alf Siegert and illustrated by Ryan Lockett and produced by Red Raven Games. Now, Red Raven Games makes some of the nicest looking productions of games that are out there. They make some fantastic games for sure. Some of my favorite games come from them. So I was very interested in seeing this one. This is just a gorgeous looking box. I mean, the Haven is neat, and I like two-player games. Now this one is a kind of asymmetrical two-player game, forest versus city, although I would say it's mostly symmetrical. There's slight differences between the two sides, but it's a really interesting area control style game. Let's take a closer look. One player is going to be playing the city, the other player is playing the forest. The city is trying to control the forest, master the forest. Forest is protecting itself. Each player is going to have 3 decks of cards here. Seekers, which are different people you'll use to fight over the different areas of the forest. Offering cards and lore cards, which are basically big special cards. Each player is going to start with an offering of each of the 3 types, the stone, water, and leaf, and also one of your seekers randomly drawn, while the forest side is going to start also with the same things, but with the lore side. The city side always goes first. So the first thing that you will do on your turn is you may take 1 or 2 actions. Now, the different actions you can take are you can play a seeker on the board. When you play a seeker, you can play them from your hand, and you're going to play them next to one of these 3 groups here. There's 3 piles of tiles here. These tiles have various numbers on them, so you can see here 776556. But you're fighting over the top tile at any given point. So when you place it from your hand, it gets placed face down. You can also place one from the top of your deck, but that gets placed face up. When you place them there's 2 things you're looking at. You're looking at the number, and then you're also looking at the number of weapons on the card. So you can see some of these have no numbers at all. Some have weapons, some don't have weapons, etc. So you're going to be placing these cards at the different locations. You can also remove a seeker, pull one off, and discard it if you want. And once per turn, as one of your 2 actions if you want to, you can play a lore card and do whatever the special thing is. So this one says, for each lore token, declare and draw 1 seeker face up. So that's how that works. And you'll see the seekers for the forest very similar. They have numbers, and their weapons are arrows, but it's essentially the same thing. When that's over, a player will draw 2 cards. They can draw the cards from any of their 3 decks that they want to, with the exception being if you don't have an offering card, you must draw one, because then you will resolve lore tokens. So you're going to look at these different lore tokens here, and if there are 3 offerings that of the same type played in an area, so let's say there are 3 water offerings played at the water area here. So this offering can be played at either one. So let's say there's 3 waters. It doesn't matter which side they're on. And in fact, when you draw some of these, you have to place them. This one here, the stone elemental, I would have to immediately play it. So sometimes the cause of this will happen when you're drawing cards. You will then compare all the people who are at that location. So let's say the city had these 3 people and these 3 here. We look at the number there, that's 6. First we look, did you go over that number? 312, we did not go over that number. 212, we did not go over that number. If you had gone over the number, all your cards are discarded. That's why you would pull a seeker off occasionally, because you don't want to go over this number. You're doing too much in the forest. Then we compare the weapon amounts. So I see 3 weapons for the city, 2 for the forest. The city wins the battle. So we look at, was that the water one? We find the water elemental. We'll put a token here to create a shrine there. And then the other player will take the water elemental and put it wherever they want to. They've won the battle. Then we see who won the lore. So 5, 6, 2, 5. Hey, the city won the lore also, which means they get this tile. Both tiles and these shrines here are worth 1 point each at the end of the game. But they're also good for other reasons. See, when you control a majority of these shrines around a region here, then you get to put, or when it's all the shrines are done around a region, then you get to put a haven token there to claim that haven. When you claim a haven, your opponent's going to get to draw a lore card, but if you occupy the majority, I guess you don't even have to have all of them. It's just as long as you have the majority there, you immediately get to put that token down. Then everyone is discarded. You flip the next one over, and you keep going. Then a player must put an offering card down on next to one of them. So you have to, even if you don't want to. And then it's going to go to the other player's turn, and we just keep going. At the end of a player's turn, they discard down to 7 cards, and you're just going to go back and forth. At some point, you're going to need, when this guy gets moved, they go to an empty spot. There may not be one. At that point, the game's going to end. Or if one whole stack of these is gone. At that point, players are going to add up their point totals. Remember, 1 point for each of these tokens, 1 point for each of these on the board. And then we're going to see who controls the most havens. Whoever controls the most havens is going to get discard, 5 victory points. And whoever controls the highest total number of these tokens is going to get the Leaf Elemental, Stone Elemental, Water Elemental, which are 3 points and 5 points. Adding all your points together, whoever has the most points is the winner of the game. There's also a few things you can do. You can have these artifacts in the game. It's a little variant. There's a couple other variants you can play, but that's basically how it works. So the art in this game is really well done. You can see here just the beauty. Ryan Laukait's drawings are always really amazing. And this continues out as you look at the different, weird creatures that he has that are in this game. I really like how they look. And you really get the kind of the feel between, the forest, good guys here, and then the bad guys. And then the lore cards have a few, there's little bits of artwork on these cards too. So the whole thing looks nice. These wooden tokens are nice. They're easy to tell whose are whose. The shrine tokens are basically double-sided, so you're able to see where they're at. The whole thing's really nice. Even like the inside of the box just is a really nice insert to the game. It's just a really pretty one. I should also mention that the game comes with some really nice turn summary cards. I wish more games did this. One for each player that explain exactly what to do and then how final scoring works at the end of the game. It's really, really good. Now, I mentioned at the beginning that this was a asymmetrical game of sorts, and there is that. If you look through the lore cards, there's some differences between them, and they have a different sort of feel between the two sides, but not enough that I think it makes that big of a difference. If it helps, I'm for City, even though it looks like I'm dressed for the Forest team. But as it is, Haven is really a nicely put together game. It's area control, and what's really unique about it is you're playing these cards, and so there's some fascinating facts to this. You're trying to control these 3 different tiles on the table, right? So you're placing cards at each of them. That in turn leads you to controlling these shrines, which will help you get these havens on the board. Well, the name of the game. So that's kind of fascinating that there's those things. But at each one, you're area controlling in 2 different ways. You're the weapons and then also the lore. But you don't want to have too much lore or you have nothing. So there's some kind of fascinating things there. It takes longer to wait till you draw the cards in your hand and play them face down so your opponent doesn't know what's there. So you rather just pull stuff. I mean, when you pick one and place it there, you have to pick where it's going before you can look at it. And that can be tough because you might go over and then you'll be like, my second action, I got to pull this guy off because it's going to ruin this one for me. And that's kind of interesting. Also, the whole aspect of forcing the majorities by playing the offerings at each one. You play several offerings at a spot that's going to happen. And there's always that danger when you draw an offering that one will go off that you weren't prepared for. But if you do play the third one at a site, most of the time, it's going to score on your opponent's turn. So they have some time to react to that. So you have to kind of make sure you control it and that your opponent can't come back. And then knowing when to play the lore cards, because the lore cards can mess everything up. It really plays very smoothly. It's about a 30-minute, maybe 45 if you're kind of dragging it out type game. But it has kind of this cutthroat back and forth, but also it flows. This game has this kind of flowing, it's forest versus city. We play the cards, we look at the things, and it's really easy to get into the zone of this game, and it's really enjoyable. I like it. 2-player games, I'm looking for something new, but at the same time, I like something that's sometimes fairly simple, and this kind of fits both those categories. So don't pass this one by. I don't think you will anyway. You'll probably walk by and be like, what is this? Yeah, check it out. Haven, a good game. Dice Tower Judgment, approved.